On today's show, we are going to be answering some of your questions in our very first Q&A.
Okay, so last week we asked you to submit some questions, and you did in literally your 8. I don't know the exact number.
So thank you very much for that.
No, they were great questions. So without further ado, let's make our way. Hey guys, says Iceland D0440. I'm sort of a DC fanboy, so what classic? What?
Iceland D0440. The D is part of the word Iceland. The fuck? Do you want to try that again?
No. Iceland 0440 says, hey guys, I'm sort of a DC fanboy, so what classic Marvel books can you recommend?
Well, Dan, what are some of the classic Marvel books we can recommend?
Okay, the first one that came to mind for me, well, first of all, there are plenty of current Marvel books that you should be reading, but classic, Infinity Gauntlet, which...
I haven't read it yet.
I recently read it for the first time, you know, basically because I wanted to Reborn Silver Surfer, Thanos, all that thing happening with the Avengers and him being the new villain, and Nova, and all this kind of cosmic stuff that's happening now, all really started with that Jim Starlin 6-issue series, and it's great, and it looks gorgeous. I think Ron Lim might draw it.
Sounds about right. Let's go with that.
And it's really, really good. It holds up. It's a bit expositional in places, but nowhere near as heavy as some of the other things that were knocking around at that time. And it just looks great, and it's just really fun, and I enjoy it.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've got a few. I'm not going to go into as much detail on any of them, but like Daredevil Reborn, I've talked about before on the show, and I think that's a classic. X-Men, the Dark Phoenix saga, I've read. That's a brilliant one. Some more recent ones like Civil War is definitely a must-read. Secret Wars, like I'm trying to think of like the kind of big events. Secret Wars is always a good one. There's a lot of Wolverine books that we've been talking about, the classics, Spider-Man, the
JMS Coming Home stories, very, very highly regarded.
Yeah, no, there are a number out there that I'm hoping...
If you had to pick one, like, you need to read this classic Marvel book.
Oh, I would personally go for Reborn. That's my kind of classic book. Just because, more so than The Dark Knight, I think it really started the kind of adult comic book, but because he didn't have the kind of gravitas of Batman, he didn't get as much praise for it.
Cool.
Yeah, no, it's a fantastic book. Okay, so the next question we have is from Pucko, and he asks, have any of you guys been reading The Walking Dead or Ex Machina?
Well, Pucko, I haven't read Ex Machina.
Nope.
I've read the first trade of Walking Dead. Mm-hmm. The reason I didn't read Walking Dead is because I didn't want to like spoil the show, but now I've been told that they're quite different. So I think I'm probably going to pick up the compendium. Yeah. First 50 issues because it's only like £25 on Amazon. Yep. And that's a really good price. So no, but I will be reading The Walking Dead. I know that you've read some Walking Dead.
Yeah, I've not read Ex Machina either, although it's on my list because Brian K. Vaughan. I'm sure it's on yours as well. Yep. The Walking Dead, I'm currently up to volume 12. I haven't read it in a while, but I do intend to get back into the swing of things. It's just, I buy 2 or 3 trades at a time, burn through them, and the last one always kind of ends on a bit of a, okay, that wasn't gripping, so I can leave it for a few months. But my taste buds for The Walking Dead are kind of coming back, so I'm definitely going to be picking up 13, 14, 15 very soon.
Cool. Krishna Nadu, apologies if I've mispronounced that.
Krishna Nadu, he's going to Xanadu. Call back to Monday's show.
Okay. Hey guys, clearly you read a lot of comics, but do you guys read lots of books? If so, what's your favorite? Well, yes, Krishna, I do read a lot of books. My favorites, okay, I'll give you some of my favorites.
Your favorites?
The Wrong Boy by Willie Russell is extremely funny and moving. Willie Russell is a Liverpool playwright. He's written one novel. That is it. It's wonderful. The Long Walk by Stephen King is astounding. I'm not a Stephen King fan at all. I don't really like his horror stuff. I don't really like his fantasy stuff. But The Long Walk is just fantastic. It's a great read. And Looking for Alaska by John Green, which is a young adult book, but it's just every bit as powerful as the first two that I mentioned.
I'm definitely not as big a reader as yourself of the books. Of the books. I don't read as well. No, but I have read a few. Looking for Alaska is, again, absolutely fantastic book. I'm a really big fan of anything by Chuck Palahniuk. Again, I'm sure I'm butchering his name. Writer of Fight Club. Haven't actually read Fight Club, but I have read Survivor, Invisible Monsters, which are both absolutely fantastic. They're definitely two of my favourite books of all time. That's all I can really think of right now. But I'm certainly not as big of a reader as yourself. Yeah. Okay, so the next question comes from Jamie Koo. And he says, "Hey guys, great show again." Yeah. "I have a question. What are your top 3 self-contained graphic novels by indie publishers, i.e. not Marvel, DC, etc.? And he gave us a few examples like Black Hole and stuff like that. Dan, what you got for this one?
Well, Jamie Coe, you mentioned probably my favorite comic, and that's Blankets by Craig Thompson.
Yep.
Oh my god, is that a piece of work? Like, I love that so much. It's just an extraordinary use of the medium, and yeah, like I love it. Those are my book recommendations. Very, very similar in tone and theme to this. It's young love. It's a guy dealing with his religion and coming to terms with the fact that maybe it's not for him anymore, and his first real relationship, and it's just so wonderful. So yeah, you literally said it right there in your question.
God, I honestly can't think of it. I mean, I don't really gravitate towards the kind of indie graphic novels. There are a few that I've really wanted to read, like Nano of Brown, or Nano the Brown, one or the other. Blankets is certainly one I want to read. I really want to read Habibi. But I can't really think of any indie graphic novel. Like, I mean, what counts as an indie book? Non-Image as well, non-Dark Horse, things like that. I mean, if I was to pick one, I picked it up in singles form, but it is one self-contained story, and that'd be Superior. I was really a fan of, by Mark Miller and Lena Yu. It's an absolutely fantastic kind of Shazam-esque story, really worth picking up. I think it's one of the best things Mark Miller's written in a very long time. Absolutely stunning story, and I really think you should pick it up in the hardback trade.
All about the tights.
All about the tights, yeah. No, I do read some, non-superhero books, and I do really enjoy those, but yeah, I tend to gravitate towards more of those. I do have one sitting on my shelf, actually, Hector Umbra, which I've been meaning to read for a while. I just haven't gotten around to it yet, but when I have, I'll let you know.
All right, cool. Rocco Cazzetta asks, are you guys reading East of West?
Well, Rocco Cazzetta, if you go and look back at one of our early reviews, we talked about the very first issue.
Be a link somewhere.
Down below.
Oh, no, you can do it on the screen, can't you?
Annotation.
Oh, you can do an annotation.
Right next to your head.
You can do an annotation. Put it here. Put it right here.
Over his eyes.
And we loved it.
We did.
So now you have no reason to click on that annotation. But yeah, I think we're both going to pick it up in trade.
That's how I'm reading most of my books these days. I'll get the single issues that we're talking about for the show.
Yeah.
But it just saves me so much money to read my books in trade. So
especially Image. They're so cost effective, those Image titles.
So I'll read something like East of West. Think that was great. Can't wait to read that in 6 months. Which is,
it sucks, but yeah.
But also, it's like, but I've got something coming out next week that I really enjoyed 6 months ago that I'm excited about. So as long as you're ahead of the curve, you're okay.
So, yes. All right, so Gambit896.
Long-time supporter and viewer of the show.
Yep, who also does a comic book review show. He
Annotation.
talks...
Can we do an annotation again?
Annotation.
Get on my eyes.
Bam! He talks more about like the story of a comic and then reviews it. So definitely worth checking out. He's very good at it. But anyway, he asks, what are the top 5 worst comics from Marvel or DC that you've read in the entire time that you've both been reading comics? Keep up the great work as usual. Oh, no.
Well,
I mean, we've read a lot of crap.
some of the New 52 stuff when that turned over was just not good.
JLA was really bad.
We hated JLA.
Hated that.
But even some of the launch stuff.
Batman and Robin for me was atrocious after the first 6. After that first arc, that book just... Same with Justice League.
Suicide Squad.
Green
A lot of
Lantern.
them started really well and then dipped. Some of the Marvel Now ones I haven't enjoyed. I really didn't enjoy the first issue of Captain America.
I hated it. I really didn't like Uncanny Avengers either. Really didn't enjoy that.
Yeah, but it wasn't like the worst. It was just sort of meh. I really didn't like Indestructible Hulk first issue.
Oh, I love that. But
so opinions.
Overall, there are some. I mean, I've read some really bad books. Have you ever bought a book and then gone, oh, that was a really bad, like a trade, and gone, that was an awful idea?
A whole trade?
Yeah.
No. But when you buy a trade, I think that like, even if it's average, then you sort of think, oh, it feels worse because you paid so much more money for it. Whereas the singles are sort of forgivable, and a lot of times it's just one issue anyway. I bought Great Pacific recently, and it was okay. Like,
Was it only okay?
It was okay, but it was just like, oh, it's just a bit disappointing. And especially when I read it back to back with Saga, which was like I would have paid double for that.
I'm looking at my shelf at the moment. I'm like, is any of those I really didn't enjoy?
Usually, if you're going to commit to a trade, you.
I wasn't fussed on Irredeemable. I really need to give that another go. But yeah, I really wasn't fussed on that. No, but I mean, you are right. If I'm buying it, I'm gonna enjoy it. So yeah, I mean, those are just some of the.
We also gave a really bad review of Superior Spider-Man #1.
Yes, and it turned out we were wrong.
Yeah, it was really good. So
yeah,
so we're not right all the time. All right.
Okay, so
Charming Action, another long-time viewer of the show, asks, "What is your most prized comic that you have in your collection?" Also do Torrent Comics. Regarding Torrent Comics, annotation! We did a whole video talking about Torrent Comics and comic book piracy, so you can go back and watch that if you so choose. You have a much better answer for this than me, so I'll start.
Go for it.
I don't have any valuable comics. No, I don't.
I mean, you've got some first prints of the New 52 stuff.
Well, yeah, apart from that, kind of sort of like the issue where Damien dies or some, Sex #1, but they're like 15 quid worth, but you know what I mean? True. It's not really like super rare at all. I have quite a few old comics, but that are just massively reprinted, so... But, that doesn't... This question, the way it's phrased, is prize comic. So I definitely have 3 comics which were like my window back in, and that was Watchmen, Dark Knight Returns, and Killing Joke. No, not Killing Joke. Killing Joke I got later for my birthday. But those 2 specifically, like...
But those are trades.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're trades, and I bought them off Amazon. It's like the first time I got an Amazon account. First time I had like a debit card, and I was just in there, and I bought these 2, and it was like... And they were my starting point.
Yeah. It's a good place to start.
And I still have both of those comics. I got them like 8 years ago. I still have them both. Mm-hmm. And so I do prize them. I do cherish them, but they're not necessarily valuable.
I actually have a copy of The Watchmen, which, if you look over there, is one of the original printings of the graphic novel, because you can tell there's no DC logo on it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, little thing there. Yeah, I've got quite a few. I've brought them with me.
Show and tell.
Unlike yourself, I really enjoy fine, and I go to places like Camden a lot, and I'm always in charity shops looking for books, and I suppose it's not so much the fact that these are hard to find, although some of them are, but it's getting them for dirt cheap. Like I got the entire 1 to 7 of Civil War for £2.50, all first prints, which I thought was pretty cool these days. But yeah, some of the books that I really like, I've got issue of Fantastic Four 247, This Land Is Mine. It's a really great Doctor Doom story. And even, like, I really need to lend this to you because even it not, you can take it out of the bag as well. Even though it's not, pre-Dark Knight Returns or The Watchmen, when that was kind of, like, oh, this is what comics could be. I think this is a really good example of what comics could be.
Oh, that's a really nice splash.
It is, isn't it? And John Bryan wrote it, who's really big name in Marvel. I am actually going to get this one out, although I'm going to get Stephen to put up the panel on there. But it's issue 234 of Captain America, and I picked it up because it was a Daredevil on it, and I was going through a big Daredevil phase at the time. There is the most amazing image of Captain America in this ever. Captain America, the racist Nazi. I absolutely love it. So that's one of my favourites. And then I suppose this one's more sentimental. I've got Spider-Man #1. This was the first cover I ever fell in love with.
Spider-Man #1.
It was Todd McFarlane's reboot in the 90s. This cover I loved as a child. My brother had a big poster of it, and I found it last year for about a £5, and I was so happy to get a hold of it. And then finally, my prized piece of my collection, which I was going to show on on next Wednesday's episode, but is Wolverine #1. This is kind of my baby. I always wanted to own one really rare comic, and I saw it at the Comic Mart for, I think it was £30, which is an obscene money to spend on a 22-page comic that I still haven't read. I'm too scared to read it because of the condition, and it's in just fine condition. But yeah, that's kind of my baby.
You should see it maybe.
Yeah, it's expensive. I do intend to get it framed at some point so I can put it on my wall, and I really want to get it side by side with the Spider-Man one. But yeah, those are some of my comics. I'm a big fan of having kind of rare comics. I would never get to like an obsessive level about it. Yeah. But if I stumble across,
if 30 quid is your top end, then that's fine.
You can get some decent comics.
It's absolutely fine.
So yeah, those are my ones. Okay. So the final question comes from
Jens August Sauerstrup Hansen.
That wasn't too bad actually. And he asks, who is your favourite comic book artist? We have a lot, I'm sure.
I do have one though.
Who is your one?
Michael Allred. And because he's the guy that if he's drawing there are actually more, but he's one of the main guys that, like, if he's drawing a book, I'm buying it. It's a done deal. Like, and
is that your favourite artist of all time?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I love a lot of other artists. Yeah. Recently, the David Arjo stuff. Recently, Sam Neill.
Yeah.
And Michael Allred is pretty recent. Fraser Irving, we talk about a lot. Frank Quietly. But Michael Allred for me is the guy that his style just suits me down to a T. Mm-hmm. And he just happens to draw books that great writers are on as well. I recently bought my first, a couple of months ago, bought my first ever omnibus, which was the Ecstatics omnibus with him and Peter Milliken, with Darwin Cook doing backup art. And, like, he's the only artist that I would shell out 80, I think it was £80 for a comic. Like, I mean, it's huge. You could kill a child with it, but...
I saw it in Forbidden Planet today, actually, and you could kill a child with it.
It's massive. But he's the only artist that I would shell out that kind of money just to own his work in that format. I just adore his work.
Yeah. I love Michael Allred. I love Chris Samneen and David Arjo, but they're all guys that I don't think would have existed in their form if not for my favourite comic book artist, which is the legend Jack Kirby. And he's one of those artists that I've always wanted a Jack Kirby piece. Like, I really want to get a Jack Kirby comic. I don't really care which. I just want to get one comic by him because that That Fantastic Four one I showed before, it's not Jack Kirby, but his influence is there.
Yeah.
And I just love that simplistic style, you know, the Kirby dots.
Yeah, Michael Red is very...
Yeah, they're all heavily inspired by Jack Kirby, but yeah, like I really want to get those nice omnibus Jack Kirbys and...
they're a bit of a slog to read, though, because Stan Lee writes most of them, and they're written so long ago.
They are, but I think, you know, the artwork really makes up for that. The one that I really, 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 really want to get is the Marvel Masterworks Fantastic Four Volume 1, because that book just looks absolutely stunning. So yeah, Jack Kirby for me, but yeah. Michael Red's
all right, great. Well, thank you very much for all of your questions. We'll definitely do this again. I had fun doing it.
Yeah, this is good fun. So keep sending in your questions. Also, send them on Twitter at Comic Book Show 1.
And we will do our best to answer them whenever we next do one of these things.
Yeah.
We hope you enjoyed all of our videos this week. We will see you next week for another 3. As always, doesn't change.
Bye.